Hey guys, welcome back to yet another YouTube video and another one of my previews for the Monster AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship. Um, yesterday, last night I filmed, and today that this came out, did preview the 250 class. Now I'm going to be doing a preview for the 450 class. But maybe this preview might come out before probably after the first Houston race probably has run. But yeah, so you never know with that. So let's get probably straight into it. So as I probably would have mentioned, if you see me looking down, that's because I've got my laptop here, reading some information down off that. So of course I'll be looking at the calendar, telling you guys the calendar, the full 17 race calendar. Some of the races I already explained in my 250 Supercross preview, but this one is the full 17 rounds for the 450 class. Have an explanation of all the riders and all that, and there's a lot to get into here, and a lot of other stuff. So let's get right into it. So of course, tomorrow afternoon, I think early tomorrow afternoon here in Australia, but obviously Saturday night over in the US will be the opening round of the season, of course, at Houston. The next two, and then after that, the next two races will be at Houston. One will be on Tuesday, and then the other one will be for the US. I'm speaking about for the US people here, not for Australian people. But you some of you guys that know the US times and the Australian times and all that, then you'll get it. So those are the three Houston races. So of course those three races, of course, they're NRG Stadium. Then they'll move on to the three Indianapolis races at Lucas Oil Stadium. The first one will be on Saturday, 30th of January. The second race would be a Tuesday race on the 2nd of February, and the final the Indianapolis race will be on Saturday the 6th of February. Then they move on to the two Orlando races, which for the first time Supercross will be racing at. I think it's the first time that Supercross will be racing at Orlando, at Camping World Stadium, and they're both going to be Saturday races. Obviously, Saturday 13th of February and 13th and 13th of February. I should say. I almost said January for a second there. Then they get like I think it's a 2-week break or 2-3-week break, something like that, for their annual round at Daytona, at Daytona International Speedway, on the 6th of March. Then they go to Arlington Arlington, Texas, at AT&T Stadium, for 3 races there. So the first Arlington race would be on Saturday the 3rd. It will be on the 13th of March. Then the second one will be on the 16th of March, which that will be a Tuesday race. And then the final Arlington race will be on the 20th of March. Then after another sort of break, the Supercross heads to Circus heads to Atlanta, but it's not going to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. it'll be at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which some of you guys in NASCAR will probably know. So there will be 3 races there. There will be the first race will be on the 10th of April. The second Atlanta race will be a Tuesday race on the 13th of April, and then the final Atlanta race will be on the 17th of April, and then they'll travel for the final time over to Salt Lake City for the final 2 races, of course at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Of course, the first Salt Lake City race will be on Saturday the 24th of February, and I think a week after that will be the finale on the 1st of May. So that will spread across 5 months. I just had to count it for a second. Of course, across various stadiums. Obviously, of course, they can't. Of course, there's no races in California. That's why there's no Anaheim 1 or no Anaheim races. No races over at California, because I believe that's where all the current pandemic stuff is, where it's mostly is in the US. I think it's in California. So there's no races in so no races at Anaheim, San Diego, Glendale, all these races. So yeah, and Oakland as well, I believe. I think Oakland's California, I believe. I'm not so sure. But now let's move on to the riders. Here now. Of course, just like the same as the 250 class, so of course there'll be championship favourites, race winning contenders, podium threats. Of course, I'm gonna add in another one, which is rookies, because of course there's 4 rookies that are gonna come up, going up via the 250 class, and then there's some others as well that I'll talk about basically at some stage. So let's go the opposite way from the 250 class. Let's start with the championship favourites. So quite clearly, for me, in my opinion, 5 clear favourites. 4 of them are clear favourites, and 1 is a possible favourite, which we have to take into consideration. Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Marvin Musquin, Ken Roczen, and possibly Zach Osborne. Now, let's move on to let's firstly talk about the champ, Eli Tomac. I mean, he's finally done it. He's the champ. Finally, he's got that number 1 player he's been trying to chase for many years in the 450 class, and he's finally done it. We all thought this was like a curse at some stage, some way or another. Of course, from 2017, 18, and 19, we all thought probably there was about 13 or 14 races, let's say 13 races in a season where he was the best Supercross rider in the world. But those other 4 races cost him big. It did it in 2017 when he was in the title fight with Ryan Dungey. It happened, of course, in 2018 when Anaheim won. He was just curb stomping the field, and then of course he went down, he got injured, and of course that basically ended his title hopes before it even began. 2019, we all know we were all blown away by what happened, what Cooper Webb brought out, of course, when he won the title, obviously. So last year there was a lot of pressure on him, but more pressure on the team, more pressure from the sponsor or the manufacturer, the sponsors, but also most importantly himself. And for me, I believe he got his bad races out of the way straight away. I mean, he didn't have a great Anaheim 1, obviously. And then from Anaheim 2, he basically got into gear. And even though he got into a bit of drama with Justin Barsha, especially at Atlanta, he probably I think he shrugged it off straight away and basically got back on it again. Some people might have been like, "Oh, this might derail Tomac's season, and we might see another season where he missed out on the title." Well, no, basically, and it was nice to see him and Roxon, who have so much respect for each other and are great friends, obviously, fighting it out for this title. Well, I should say fighting it out for this title, basically. When it got to the Salt Lake City rounds, Roxon kind of tailed off, and basically Tomac wanted Roxon, I should say, tailed off, and Tomac charged towards the Supercross title, obviously. Yeah, so yeah, and I believe, I think for me, for some people they say, oh, the second title will be easy because obviously he's won that title. He's won the title, and when that long awaited title he was so desperate to doing, and then basically now it's gonna be easy to get the second one. For me, probably the new added pressure now is to now repeat, because this is my opinion, because we all know there's a guy in the 250 class on that Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki team by the name of Austin Faulkner that is destined to be in that Monster Energy Kawasaki team. I think for me, Monster Energy Kawasaki, that factory Kawasaki team, I think they'll be absolutely stupid, the stupidest people in the world to not sign Austin Faulkner. I mean, he has shown, even though he's gone injured and he hasn't won his 250 title yet, that would be stupid not to sign him. And imagine that line up with him and Adam C and Cerullo. I mean, that would just be an unbelievable. That would just be a sick lineup for the Monster Energy Kawasaki team. And that of course AC is gonna be favoured the most out of this, because of course he's the future of the team. But yeah, I think for me, if Tomac repeats the title and of course Faulkner doesn't win the title, then of course I would say, of course, never mind, because obviously Tomac's gonna stay another year. Because I believe, added to that, I think you guys can correct me about this down in the comments below. I believe it's Tomac's final year on his current contract with Monster Energy Kawasaki. I swear that before the 2020 season, he signed like a 2-year contract. I swear down that he signed a 2-year contract. But yeah. But for example, if Tomac has a bad year, Supercross year, and that relates also back to, of course, then of course he falls short in the pro in outdoors in the pro motocross scene, and then of course Faulkner wins the 250 West title, 250 said the wrong coast, 250 East title, and then wins the 250 motocross title. Then Monster Energy Kawasaki have a big problem on their hands, or in other words, a big predicament on their hands, because they won't know, should we say, look, Tomac, I'm sorry, but Faulkner, we need to put him in, or do they basically say to Faulkner, you stay in the 250 class, defend your titles there. We'll see you in the 450 class in 2023, in 2023 we'll see you there. So that's going to be either a couple of ways, or the highly unlikely one, a very highly unlikely one, is Monster Kawasaki gets 3 bikes, which I don't think will happen. Highly unlikely that will happen. I don't think they will go down the Husqvarna road and fill 3 bikes, so it'll be a team of Tomac, Cirulo, and Faulkner on the team, and I don't think that will happen. It might happen in the future, but in current terms, no, it's 100% not going to happen. For me, but I believe for me, I think for me, the pressure on winning the title is going to be off, but I think it's a new pressure. Of course, Faulkner in the 250 class, probably that's the new pressure for him, in my opinion, in that way. Now let's move on to, of course, might as well, since both Red Bull KTMs are in this, I might as well speak about both of them, of course, Cooper Webb and Marvin Musquin. Now, let's talk about Cooper Webb. Everybody's saying, what I've heard is basically Cooper is not, you can't get into a conversation with Cooper about, of course, it went about showcasing his disgust about losing, of course, the number 1 plate, which of course, when he won the title in 2019, will that basically motivate him to get it back and win the title this year in 2021? Who knows? But I believe for me, I think for me he said there was no pressure of having the number 1 plate. I think the pressure, but I believe the pressure's off for me, in my opinion. I think for me, it'll be back to the start, and I believe he will contend definitely for this championship, like he has been for the last couple of years. For me, of course, 2020. Of course, he started the year, of course, with this illness, of course, at Anaheim 1, which, of course, miraculously made it onto the podium. And, of course, he didn't win a race. He didn't win a race until San Diego, I think, or Oakland. One of the two. I think it was San Diego. He won his first race of the season. And before Arlington, before the Arlington round, he was 11 points behind. I think it was Roxon, I believe, was in the lead at that stage. At the championship, was in the lead of the championship at that stage. And then, of course, he had that frightening crash, of course, where he ended over the top of the bike and basically landed on his back. I mean, oh, Jesus. On the concrete, I might add. It's almost like someone... It's almost like someone has just... It almost would have felt like for Cooper, it probably would have felt like probably a 2-ton truck had probably just fallen on top of him. That's how much it would. That must have taken the wind out of him. And then a week later, he goes up on the podium, and then in the Salt Lake City races, I think I heard he grabbed the most points in those Salt Lake City races, and of course won all the. I think the thing they had Wednesday races. I think their Tuesday race. He won all the Tuesday races at Salt Lake City, and of course, but of course judging by what I've heard, he really wants to get that number 1 plate back on his bike, and win the title this year, and get the number 1 plate back, which I should have said, obviously. Then of course you got his teammate Marvin Musquin. Of course, he missed the entire 2020 season, of course, having surgery on his ACL that he torn at the final at the Ironman Nationals in 2019. And we all thought when of course Supercross went into lockdown, obviously we all thought, oh, he might be back for the Salt Lake City rounds, but he decided, nah, I'm gonna come back for the Pro Motocross, which he did. For me, I still put him as a championship favourite, but I don't know what. I think that is probably out of the 5, which I'm going to talk about. He's probably the great unknown, or one of the unknowns, because of course he hasn't been ridden in Supercross for so long. I believe he can contend like he always does. But I think he'll go well at the start. I think for me, I think he'll go well at the start of the season, and then once you get to the middle into the back half of the season, he'll tail off. But I think he'll be in there. I think he'll get a couple of wins, get various of podiums, and yeah. So yeah. Those are the Ripple K10 guys. Now let's move on to, of course, Ken Roczen. Now, of course, we all know. We all were proud of Ken Roczen when, of course, he broke that 3-year drought at St. Louis last year. It was an emotional moment for him and, of course, his wife Courtney. Of course, she was in tears up in the stands, seeing, of course, Ken home for his first win in 3 years. Of course, that 3-year period, obviously, he would have faced adversity, the works, obviously, of course, injury both arms, of course, the gnarly arm injury he suffered in 2017 at Anaheim 2, and then, of course, breaking his other arm at San Diego in 2018. That must have probably knocked his confidence, around a bit, especially in 2018, because especially 2018, because he was on a roll in 2018 when he was returning, and then of course he broke his other arm, and that was the end of that. I mean, yeah. And then 2019, obviously, he had that winless season. Even though he had the winless season, he was leading the championship a fair bit. And then, of course, he tailed off a bit after 2019. Then 2020, there was a lot of pressure, of course, to get that win, obviously, and of course he did at St. Louis, I should say. Then, of course, he had a couple more wins. Of course, clean sweeping the Triple Crown event at Glendale was one of them, and then of course he was leading. Probably could have had about 5 wins that year, if it wasn't for the beast mode in Eli Tomac at Daytona. I mean, I think Roczen led for about close to 95 to 98% of that race. And then with about 3 minutes to go, Tomac overtook him for the lead, and then Tomac just bolted. From that moment on, that probably took the sting out of Ken's championship charge a little bit. And of course, when we got to the Salt Lake City rounds, he tailed off, and of course, But that could be the confidence boost that he needs. I mean, of course, he's not going to go back to that. I don't think he'll ever go back to that 2017 Ken Roczen where he's saying, "Oh, I'm whipping everyone's ass and I'm going to scare everybody with my speed, raw speed on this Honda." I don't think we're going to see that kind of Ken Roczen anymore. Yeah, because I just I don't think we can see it, but yeah, but I believe Roxon will. I think he will challenge for this title. I think he needs to be more consistent in the latter half of the season to have a chance of winning this title, because the last 2 years, obviously, he's tailed off towards the end of the season. And I believe I think for me, if he is to win this title, as I said, he needs to perform well in the back half of the season, instead of if it means sacrificing doing an Eli Tomac and having a good start to the season, and then having good results at the back half of the season, then they'll be fine. That will be it. That will be it for title favorites. I just remembered. Here. This I just looked down the laptop. There's one name that is screaming out at me. Just absolutely screaming out at me to get a mention in this topic, and that is, of course, Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing's Zach Osborne. Of course, 2020 started out horribly for Zach, for Zacho. Some horror results, and even he said, I think I heard him say that he was considering retirement at times. Then we got to the Salt Lake City rounds, and he was running up front pretty much all those Salt Lake City rounds. And then, of course, we got to the final round, the final Salt Lake City round. Of course, he won that, of course, leading on Factory Husqvarna 1-2-3 with Osborne, with him, Anderson, and Dean Wilson, which two of them I will be talking about later on. The two which I will be talking about later on. I believe for me, and then of course that probably that must have done something good, because he ended up winning the Pro Motocross title. Which we all thought, Tomac's going to cruise to his title, but he didn't. He didn't even. I don't know if he even finished even runner up in the championship. Did Tomac, but how appropriate that the one season he ends up winning the Supercross title, he doesn't win the Pro Motocross title. Because the last 3 years he's won the Pro Motocross title, but he hasn't won the Supercross title. So I think he'll take massive, more confidence than what everyone else thinks leading into Anaheim 1. And I know that's motocross confidence is very different than Supercross confidence, but for me it's basically the same. And it could, and this is the reason why. Of course, they had 8 rounds. Of course, it was a shortened season, 8 rounds in the Pro Motocross scene, which of course 2 motos each. If you do the maths, that's equal to 16 motos. Which of course for some of them it's actually 17 main events. It's 17 main events basically. So basically he can contend. He on stats wise from the 2020 motocross season, he can contend for this title. That is if he gets the results in order straight away. For me, I believe that there's a possibility that he can do what Cooper Webb did in 2019, that shocked the world and win the 450 Supercross title. That's what he can do. So I believe, I'm hopping on the Zacho train. For me, it's probably giving away who I predicted to win this 450 Supercross title. For me, in my opinion, I hope Zacho, if you're watching this, which I hope you aren't, Zach, if you're watching this, probably not. And again, probably not. But anyways, please do not let me down. And that's not going to be the last time I'm going to say this in this video. Trust me, that's not going to be the last time. So that's it for the championship favourites. Let's now go to the race winning contenders. So there's about 3 of them here. Adding the 5 championship favourites, these are the ones that I believe will win races, but I don't think will be enough to challenge the title. Let's start off with this one's going to be a controversial one. Adam Cianciarulo. Everybody, that one will disagree with me straight away. Everybody say, "Oh, replace Osborne and put Cianciarulo as the title favourite." No, I don't think he has it yet. I disagree with everybody that's saying, "Oh, he has the ingredients to win the title yet." I believe, for me, I think what this might be familiar of for the sophomore year in the 450 class is, I think, a repeat of what Marvin Muscan did in his sophomore year in 2017, when he contended for title. He was. Of course, he won races. He mostly contended for the title. But of course, everybody was focusing on Dungey and Tomac for the title that year. I think this could be the same here. I believe Cianciarulo, I believe he'll win a couple of races. I think he'll definitely be fastest qualifier, and I think he'll contend for wins in heat races and such. But I don't think. But title wise, even though just to correct me a moment ago. I believe Tomac finished in 3rd, because I remember Cianciarulo finished 2nd in the for some reason finished 2nd in the Pro Motocross title last year in 2020. So, but I don't think he'll contend. I don't think he can contend for this title. I believe he'll win about a couple of races, maybe even 3 races if he's lucky, but I don't think he'll win the title. I don't think he can be consistent enough. Maybe at the end of Salt Lake City 2, and he wins the title, he might force me to eat my words. But yeah, I believe for me, I believe. So basically, so I say AC. He's not. I don't think he'll win this title. Anderson. I don't think he'll win it either. I think for me, in my opinion, looking at it now, I think his window is long gone. I think he can still win races. I don't think he can contend for titles anymore, like he did when in 2018 when he shocked the world and he won the title. Obviously, I think for me, I think I heard it right, since when he when he left Eldon Baker, who is the most successful trainer in Supercross history. I believe he's trained since the start of the 21st century. I believe, something like 18 and 17. I think 17 out of the last 21 years have been trained. Riders have won the 250 Supercross or 450 Supercross as it is now. Have been trained under Eldon Baker, and 9 out of the 10. And 9 out of the last 10 have been trained by him, obviously, of course, Dungey, Villapoto, Cooper, of course, Anderson, Dungey, Villapoto, obviously. So since Anderson left that camp, I left the Baker's factory. I do not. He hasn't been the same guy that had won the title in 2018, and I don't. And there might be a chance that will never happen. You never know about that. I don't know if that will happen. I don't know, but yeah, I don't think it will happen. Yeah. So So I believe, same with AC. I don't think he'll win the title, but I believe he will at least break that drought and then win a couple and win another race. So have a couple of wins this season. Yeah. So now let's move on to Justin Barcia. I think for me, like I said at 250 class, of course, I said that KTM will do well, Husqvarna will do well, Honda will do well, Kawasaki will do well, Yamaha will do well, and maybe Suzuki might spring a surprise. But the great unknown is how Gas is going to go in 2021, especially with Justin Barcia in charge of that Troy Lee Designs Red Bull factory Gas team. Some people will say, no, he's not going to win. I don't think he's not going to win a race. He's not going to win a race. I think he will win a race. I think he can do better than he has been on that Yamaha he was on for the last couple of years. And of course, heading into Houston tomorrow, obviously, he's won the last 2 season openers. He's looking for a third in a row. Don't count him out to win a third season opener in a row. Don't count that out at all. Just don't count it out. Obviously, so yeah. Then we go to now the podium threats. Obviously, of course, we got list off the names here: Justin Brayton, Dean Wilson, Joey Savacci, Malcolm Stewart, Martin Darbalos, and Vince Breezy. I might do Brayton, Wilson, and Savacci and then call it here and do basically like a part 2 and all that. So I think Brayton on the Muck-Off team, which used to be called the Penrite Honda team, now it's called Muck-Off, obviously. I think he'll go well, Brayton, now that he's off the factory Honda team. I believe pressure's off him. And of course, it's a team that he's had so much success with back in Australia. I think he's won bazillions of Australian Supercross titles. I believe that he will do well, and I think he will be. He will definitely be, definitely dominate, or not dominate, but will basically be up at front podiums and maybe contending for race wins, or at least a shock race win or 2, every now and again. Then we go to Dean Wilson. Of course, we're speaking about his other 2 teammates now. Now we go to him. I don't think he's in that bracket of an Osborne and Anderson and him winning races. I think he's gonna most likely gonna contend for podiums. And I can see him running up front in the heat races and of course be up there in qualifying, but and of course finishing on the podium, finishing on the box in main events, but him winning a main event, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think maybe a surprise race, but I don't know anything about that. And then the final guy I'm going to talk about in this, I'm just going to say this one's going to be a part 1. Is Joey Savacci. Now, the big shock out of all the silly season being is, of course, Joey Savacci's moved to Rocky Mountain ATV KTM team to replace Blake Baggett, who apparently what was said was he and the team didn't agree to terms of his contract, even though he had 1 extra year, Blake Baggett, on his Rocky Mountain ATV KTM contract. And because of JGR MX shutting down, Savacci didn't have a ride. So basically, he's now gone to the Rocky Mountain ATV KTM team to be alongside Justin Bogle. I think for me, Savacci, I think for me it was kind of harsh saying, everyone's saying, he had a terrible year with Suzuki, because he never proved himself in Supercross wise. He never proved himself because he was injured, of course, at the AusX Open. He had that heel injury and he never really started Supercross, so he never really recovered, and he never really got a head start on that, in my opinion. So that's why I believe, for me, this will be hopefully be a lot more better season, and hopefully he can step up his game and produce that podium, produce a couple of podiums this season, and maybe even a shock race win, just like what I said with Brayton and Wilson and Dean Wilson. Just maybe a couple of a shock win here, maybe at Daytona or somewhere. So that's gonna be it I'm gonna call this one a part 1. Don't worry, the second part to this, the second part of this will be on. I'll do tomorrow. Tomorrow as I'm doing this. So of course, like this video, comment down below your feedback, subscribe, share this video, and of course subscribe down there. Hit the notification bell, the works basically, and of course I'll follow me on Instagram at Braden_Davis_2000. But until then, guys, I'll see you guys later.